Hello up there! Holy, we're back in the saddle. We're ready to go. We're peaking audio. Joining me tonight from somewhere in California is my man Angel Sandoval in your top right corner, and in the top left is Robbie. How's it going, everybody? Oh man, so tonight should be a fun one. We're gonna, harass Angel in person. Have him on the show. We don't have an audience tonight because our audience is here. Oh man, Robbie, why don't you start first? When did you become an Oilers fan? And, who's your favorite player, favorite moment? And then, Angel, you can kind of do the same thing because we all know your favorite Oilers player ever is Gretzky. But go ahead, Go ahead, Robbie.
Goal that was shorthanded in Game 5 against the Hurricanes. And everybody, we just love beating the crap out of Calgary, so Messier's elbow into Rick Natras was absolutely amazing. And just for you, Angel, one of our resident most likable players and is a heavyweight, George Lorock, when he got his hat trick against your LA Kings and Stefan Facette. On to you, Angel.
That goalie was never that good.
Rob, you moved me to tears as that walk down memory lane. I appreciate that, buddy. That was fucking awesome.
Well, I'm Angel, and I'm your resident diehard Kings fan. And pretty much my dad watched one sport, and the one sport was hockey. And so he would call me from work, and he'd ask me what the score was and this and that, and then that's kind of how I feel. And then I played goalie for most of my young hockey life in Inglewood, California. So we played down there for I don't know, probably about 4 or 5 years as a youth, and just kind of always just fell in love with hockey. And then, some of my greatest memories are just at the forums meeting players, like you said. I'm not as old as you, but I'm still kind of like in that middle generation where we were still able, when all the meet and greets were going out, I was still part of the ones that were in. Where they allowed your players, and then my favorite player is Luke Robitaille. Lucky Luke. That's my favorite player, and he's kind of been my favorite player only because of his success, and he's the greatest left wing that ever played to most people, especially in Kings. And but some of my favorite moments are from probably a lot of players that Kings don't know. Like I remember there was this one guy. Dan Quinn gave us the shootout, or Robert Lane, was a great one. And, I'm not real big on the whole Rob Blakes and all those guys. Obviously, those are great players, but they also played for other teams. But it was just smaller moments that make hockey bigger with players that you don't like them. My second favorite is Ian LePerriere. Just his grit, his fight, his everything. And then, I got to meet him later on at a LA Kings charity event. And so, those are the players that, interact a little bit better with fans, that give you a little bit more personal touch on it. So that's kind of where I'm at with my hockey life, how I got into it.
I just want to say, Angel, thank you very much as an older guy that's always been around the game for not mentioning the miracle on Manchester.
Again, that's before my time. That doesn't hurt me. It doesn't.
Fake news. It never happened. Never happened.
Yeah. That's something that I remember so much. It's something that you guys remember more than I do.
There's some things we don't want to remember.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, now I can let you live that up.
Just like Angel doesn't want to live the last 2 years that he's played us.
Edmonton. Hey. I like watching great players. I always have. I tell people all the time, you can hate the team, but you can't ignore hating players. Players are just so great. In as much as we talk shit about Austin Matthews, I don't think there's any team that wouldn't want him. Right? So I mean, that goes without saying. So for me, it's like one of those things where if you can watch greatness, because you never know what these players end up being. Let's just say Edmonton goes on a run for the next 10 years, right? And they win 5 out of 10. Does Connor McDavid not go down as one of the greatest, if not the greatest players? But let's say he only wins 1 or 2, they're going to say, well, he lost due to incompetency in front office, general managers, this and that. But he's still considered a great player because he's probably going to still be a Hall of Famer at one point. But the narratives are going to be different depending on what they do and how they do it. So for me, I can appreciate watching them when they play, and I like it when they play my team, because then I get to see them up close and personal. The old saying is to keep your enemies closer and your family far, far away.
Well, and I agree with that to a point. I think that when you're in the midst of playing each other, especially in the playoffs, and because of the passion that the Oiler fans have, we do get that hate on for the other team, right? It doesn't matter who you are, how great you are. We don't care. We want to put your head through the glass. We want to bury all the goals, and we want to get rid of you. So now that, the season's done, you can all go back and look and kind of admire some of the greatness of, your Kempes. Like, he's a great hockey player. During the playoffs, so,
Yeah, he turned it up. He turned out to be and I think that's the Kings right now. I think that's what they're doing. is they don't really give a shit if they're going to make it far right now. I think they're still in the development. They're waiting for these players to get to 24, 25, 26, 27. You're not winning Stanley Cups for 21 and 22-year-olds as your leaders. You're just not, And so I think Mike just the last time is, Edmonton's in that window where all their homegrown players are 26, 27, 28, 29. This is the time where their players are peaking or coming into their prime. And this is where they should not be wasting time as far as making that push or playing Jack Campbell or whatever the case may be to win the Stanley Cup. Because they're in their prime. There's that 26, 27. They're besides McDavid and Draisaitl, right? Those other players are gonna fall off to where it's hugely noticeable. And that's where I think the Kings are not there yet. Their players aren't mature yet to take that next step because they're all 22, 23, 24.
Well, I think the Kings run that dichotomy right now where you have your core that's older, but you have these young guys that you're waiting to blossom, like you're saying, like your Quentin Byfield's, like he hasn't even found his NHL legs yet, but he's got the potential to be something special though. So
yes, he does. I think he does.
So they're in that transition period, which is part of the thing that's actually impressive that they've been so successful during this transition period. Because I honestly, the preseason, I did not even think they'd make the playoffs, and yet they did it. They had a great year. A lot of that goes to credit to Todd McKellen, who did a great job coaching those guys, but also guys like Dowdy and Kopitar that seem to find their second win all of a sudden and be energized with these young guys in the lineup.
Yeah, I think that's good.
I'm glad you guys are talking about veteran presence, especially in the playoffs when you have a goaltender that should be playing.
Hey, 1 second. Before we go any further, I think we need a quick little fire Dustin Schwartz break by Chad Graham. Go ahead, Chad.
Fuck Dustin Schwartz. You need to go. Bye. Hashtag gone.
I second
This
that.
message has been brought to you by Chad Graham, part of the Fire Dustin Schwartz movement. Now we return to your regular broadcast.
I don't know if it was his fault.
Oh, it was totally his fault. No, it was 100%. No. It's 100% his fault because Woodcroft went to Dustin to fight. He literally, his job, Schwartz's job is to scout. His job is to tell him which goaltender should be playing when. His job is to be the goalie coach. And Woodcroft literally, I know he has a hard-on for Skinner, as we all do in a certain aspect, because he's going to be great at some point. But, I mean, come on.
Chad, would you not have started Campbell Game 6 against Vegas?
I would have started Campbell Game 2. Game 2 of our entire playoff.
I never ever understood how you can pull a goalie, even though he's a rookie. I thought he got tired. He gets pulled 3 out of your 4 games, and you don't go to the veteran that's supposed to be making the big money.
Or 3 of the 4 games, and our veteran goalie lets in 1 goal in 6 periods. Like, fucking come on.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
And wins us a game against LA completely by himself, and only had 2 periods to do it.
So the $1 million.
Skinner played 12 games. 10 of those games he let in 3+ goals. 8 of those games 4+ goals. You're not going to win with that.
You're preaching to the choir, Andrew. You're preaching to the choir. We've been down this road and we can hack it to death, and it's all true. But here's the thing: we are stuck with Dustin Schwartz for at least 1 more year, at least, because Skinner got nominated for Calder. As great as that is for us to have Skinner be nominated as Calder, it's bad for us because we keep Schwartz because he'll take a lot of the credit for it, and Skinner's going to give him a lot of the credit for it.
Who was the last Oiler that almost got the Calder? Does anybody know?
That almost got the cut. Well, McDavid was nominated.
Oh, before that. And he lost out to a Hall of Fame goalie.
Ooh, I'm the stats guy.
Number 7 in your hearts, it is Jason Arnott. Finished second to Martin Brodeur.
That's freaking. That was my draft year.
A little bit you then, Bob.
Because it was my draft year, it doesn't mean I got drafted.
Does the inevitable happen next year? Do we meet the Kings again in the playoffs? Is this going to be the 90s Dallas Edmonton revisionist? here we go again. Hop in the DeLorean, same kind of bullshit. Here we go.
Well, I sure hope it is because we tend to own the Kings. So.
Right. We not all think that Vegas is going to win the division again, and it's going to be 2-3 Edmonton and LA.
I think we will, but I think it's going to play out a little bit different. I don't think that we're going to play in the first round. I think that series deserves a second round matchup because even though we went 6 with them, I don't know about you guys, but most of those games were pretty tough, hard-fought games. They weren't won in the first period or second period. Even when either team was down for the most part, like 3-1 or 2-3, you never felt like any team was ever really out of it. So to me, the entertainment aspect of it is there with the rivalry with the Kings more so than Vegas. At some point, though, I do think the Kings beat Edmonton. I don't know if it's next year or the year after that, but I can see it where, like as much as a disappointment for Edmonton, I can see a really big disappointment next year or the following year if they don't make it past the second round again. I believe Edmonton has way more pressure on them to produce than the Kings do. I mean, the Kings don't have nothing to lose. I mean, you're ahead of schedule, so that's where I think the pressure is harder, but I don't think you guys win a Stanley Cup with Skinner. So that's just my opinion.
Isn't that what makes Stanley Cup champions, the pressure and actually stepping up to it and punching through it? I agree with you 100%. Right now, with the goaltending standard that we have to win, we don't win a cup. I
don't believe that. I think Jack Campbell, I know everybody's pissed off about his season, but I think he's got the potential to be great.
I have the thought too, but is that what we're going to rely on, potential?
Well, that's what we have. We have to rely on it.
Can we not try?
I didn't say you would have won with Campbell. I said Skinner at the helm. I didn't say Campbell. That's a different story.
Look, I think it's a tale of two cities because I don't think Skinner isn't even in his prime yet. Like he's still developing. So the fact that he had the season that he had and we made it to the second round, it wasn't on him, obviously, because Campbell probably could have gotten further. Campbell, when he's on his game, he's a top 10 goalie. But the thing he struggles with is consistency, and you're going to need that for a playoff run.
But
I think we have a 1A, 1B situation where I kind of disagree with you, Angel. I think if both of those guys are on their game, that we can win Stanley Cups with them. I mean, seriously, does Vegas preseason? Do you think Vegas wins the cup with Aiden Hill in there? Nobody would have called that.
No, I don't think anybody would have called that. But when he did come in, I said that he was better than boys blah, blah, blah. Whatever his name is, Francois, blah, blah, blah.
I like that. That's exactly his name.
Blah, blah, blah.
I said that numbers-wise, Aiden Hill was better than the last goalie. So I think they were going to call fifth. But I think they play so team-friendly because even Jack Eichel, to me, is not like a superstar. So I think they play such a team game that it's hard to beat them. And I think it goes back to their defense. I mean, they block shots like crazy. Now, is it because there were two ex-Kings that lead the way? I don't know. Alex Martinez and Braden Stab, the Kings taught them how to block shots. I mean, they led the league 1 and 2, and that's what they said about John Stevens. Is when John Stevens coached them, it was all about blocking shots for a defenseman, and I think that's a big part of the game that we lack on my team and probably your team too is shot blocking. They're afraid to get in front of that because they're afraid to go down and then maybe get missed going up on the rush.
Well, I do agree to a point because I do think we actually kind of missed Chris Russell more than we wanted to admit. Because he brought that redneck element to it and put himself on every shot possible.
Chris Russell was a better goalie than most of our goalies.
He wasn't coached by Schwartz.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, Russell had no affiliation with Schwartz. That is obvious.
I'm just saying, I'm at the point now where I'm trying to think with my head and not my heart, and most Oiler fans, I think, always gauge everything by their emotions and their heart, who they love and who's the best, and you know what I mean, all that kind of stuff. In my heart, I don't think Stuart Skinner is a bona fide #1 NHL goalie. I think he's a solid. No, that's all of that. He's not going to win us the cup. We either need Jack Campbell to stand up and have a bounce back year, which I hope he does more than anything, or we make
we're paying for it.
Now we need to go all in. Enough of this nonsense and this bullshit. We've got the two best players in the league. Like, let's get after it, and that's the end of it. We need.
Well, that's what
wins championships.
That's what Angel was saying there, was the fact that that's why the pressure is on us, because we are in our window right now. Like, we are in our window of prime opportunity. The cup is there for the taking. It's just a matter of now taking it and getting
all your players, all your serious players and all your great role players, they're all around that 26, 27, 28, 29. Those complimentary players are not going to get any better than what they are. And don't get me wrong, some will, but there's going to be more drops than there's going to be elevating. And so in that aspect, I believe that now's the time for you guys, the next like 4 years for you guys are crucial.
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing for the rest of the NHL though is that our top two players are only going to get better. They're not going down at any point in time.
Yeah, but
Connor McDavid and Draisaitl will learn from this year, and they will lead better next year. I guarantee you, next year in the dressing room. I guarantee you.
Yeah, you can't say that. And I remember somebody else.
No. I guarantee you in the dressing room next year, Connor McDavid says to Woodcroft, if Jack isn't playing, I'm not fucking playing. That's the next step in leadership.
I don't think if he can do that for his playoff life, I don't think he can do that in next year. I don't think if you're not going to be able to do that in a critical game, go to your coach and say, hey, I don't want this guy to play. He's not LeBron. He's not trading players, and so I don't think Connor McDavid might not be wired like that where he can go. I think is more better than that.
Hang on here, because he basically did that in the playoff this year. He didn't say, maybe not to Woodcroft, or maybe he did in private, but in his press interview, he basically alluded to the fact that Jack Campbell should be starting the next game.
Yeah.
I agree. I saw that one. He did say that, but obviously it wasn't heard or felt.
So that's what next season is going to bring. You want to talk about learning? Leadership is where the learning has to come from. You have to learn from your experiences, and your leadership will grow. The core is going to grow. Mike's right. We need another strong right side defenseman and even a winger. Other than that, I think we have the team. I don't care what anybody says. We got the team.
Here's also the point, though. We went through this last year. I think the Oilers in the playoffs this year took a step back. Because the year before, they're like, we've learned, we're going forward, let's go, and then here we're out again so early, and I'm like, what do you mean you learned? And we got to stop this. We need somebody that's going to help us, and it's like I've always said, in baseball, pitching wins you championships. Football, defense wins you championships. In hockey, goalies win you championships, and our goalies didn't steal a game.
So that's the point you bring up, Rob? Not true. One of our goalies did.
Tell me, I can't. The one did. Fair enough, Jack. I'm just saying on a regular level, though. Like, we don't have the goaltending, I think, to get us over that hump.
We didn't get the opportunity to see what Jack wanted to bring to the playoffs. We didn't get to see it.
I agree with you 100%. And so I'm going to lead into this. We've got so many defensemen now, and all of a sudden I'm seeing that Desharnais is above Broberg on the depth. Are we giving up on Broberg now?
You can't. There's too big of an upside. I think in anything, Broberg still has a higher upside than Desharnais does. Desharnais was kind of a pleasant surprise. I don't think he was supposed to be there. He grabbed that spot and made the most of it. We saw him struggle mightily in the playoffs. I think it got to be a bit too much for him. Whereas a guy like Broberg, I think, is a guy who actually keeps developing here. He's going to be one of those studs back there. It's going to be a core in the league.
I saw Broberg get popped in the mouth a couple of times, and he just cowered. You can't have that in the playoffs at all. You can't.
No, and I agree with you. And I think that's all part of that learning process, so that Chad mentioned too as well. Like, Broberg doesn't have a lot of that experience yet.
I only wish that Nemo Leinen was a little bit fleeter of foot, because Nemo Leinen and Desharnais as your third pairing, could probably do some damage to guys.
Having said that, though, Desharnais is no fleet of foot either, and he stayed up there.
Yes.
I'm
gonna piss Mike off right now. I loved Cody Cece's playoffs.
He's a solid D man. I just don't think he's a bottom pairing D man. I think we give him too much responsibility.
He's too high.
I hate to see him go because I think he has a crucial role in the team, but not as crucial as Woodcroft makes it out to be.
Well,
I think he's a bottom six.
When he's on your top pairing, I think that's too much to ask for him. And I have nothing against him personally. I like the way he plays. He shows up all the time, and he was playing through something. But even when he's healthy, I just don't think he's quite talented enough to be the guy to get you to a Stanley Cup and win one as your top pairing right shot guy. And I think people want to rag on Nurse, but give Nurse a bit of more of an equivalent partner to what Bouchard has, and you're going to see a lot better out of Darnell. So
I want to go back to something that Rob touched on briefly there, with the fact that we took a step backwards in the playoff, which is frustrating because we are actually a better team than we were for the year before that. That's the frustrating part.
I agree we are, but we didn't show it, I don't think.
Yep, I know.
Now, in my opinion, I think that's just coaching. I honestly do. The letdown with the goalie not coming in and out, I believe he got out-coached in parts of the LA Kings series and most of the Vegas series. He didn't make the proper adjustment. And again, I just don't think that's the coach to lead them. I don't think he doesn't have that leadership quality that I think I would want to follow. From what I've seen in the minimal press conferences and any research that I've done on him in general.
Well, then also, don't we have to give him a bit of a break because it's only a year and a half into his coaching career at the NHL level?
Sure, but when you're talking, you have the two greatest players on the planet, how good of a coach are you? Like, how many coaches can you plug and play in a situation like that where you have two of the greatest players and you can't take advantage of them? So you got to get a coach that can take advantage of having those two great players. And I believe that him being the coach, he's getting bailed out by those two players.
Well, yeah, but he's not at the Davis level where he just threw the two of them together forever just because he wanted to get out of a mess, right? I think that Woodcroft's done a decent job as a coach. I think he's still kind of learning his way a little bit, and I think we need to give him a little bit of credit. And you can't McDavid and Draisaitl aren't playing the whole game, so you can't just say he's got his two best players. You should play them all the time, right? You've got another 18 positions that other guys need to fill in. It's a team game, so.
If you put Connor David and Leon Draisaitl on the Phoenix Coyotes, they make the playoffs?
No.
I think they do.
I don't think they do.
If they what? Sorry, Angel, go ahead. What did you say there?
If you put Connor David and Leon Draisaitl on the Phoenix Coyotes, do they make the playoffs? I think they do.
No,
yeah.
I just think having those two, man, I mean, you got Ryan Nugent-Hopkins putting up 100 points, bro. I mean, that is like the economy being inflated like crazy. Just in my opinion, I cannot see a coach having like these horrible seasons with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, because you're going to have a competent team around him, right? So my thing is, I don't know Woodcroft much, but I do believe that he's gotten outplayed or outcoached one of the series that he played in. So at one point, though, at some point when you're in your window, you say, hey, maybe it's the coach.
So I don't disagree with you, Angel. I did see moments, especially in the LA series, where I thought McClellan outcoached Wade a couple times. But having said that, like even McDavid has gone on record saying that he thinks that Woodcroft is one of the top 5 teams in the NHL. And so if we want our captain to express the leadership that Chad is alluding to, he did it in the coaching category. So if we want somebody to kind of compliment Woodcroft, maybe we need to find some more grizzled assistant coaches to kind of guide him on that process. Like Woody is well versed in the Oilers system. He knows what these guys are working in Bakersfield. He knows it's because of him that we knew that McCall is a good penalty killer. Nobody used him that way. But we knew that. They knew he could do that.
I think that River Star doesn't come on strong with any other coach but Woodcroft. To be honest.
Yeah.
So I understand that part. I just think you guys are sacrificing a lot for the coach. Like when you guys hired him or just elevated him through the system, I think, you know, the expectations were a little bit higher than what they're getting out of him. You know?
Well, the expectation is a cup. And the problem is, whoever doesn't deliver that cup is going to be looked upon as failing to meet that, right? Or as a failure.
Which
so
takes
whatever coach we do throw in there, it's all going to be measured by a cup victory, regardless of what the record is, regardless of how far they get in the playoffs. It's the cup or nothing.
And all things roll back to Dustin Schwartz.
Hang on a second, Chad. Let me check the time here. Oh, you know what? The time for the fire Dustin Schwartz great.
Fucking fire Dustin Schwartz, you piece of shit. We don't love you.
So let's say you do fire Dustin Schwartz, right? Do you think the outcome of Skinner is going to be any more than what he already is?
Yeah, I think the outcome of our game is going to be the goalies are going to be better, and I think that Skinner wouldn't have gotten all those games. I'm sorry, he wouldn't have.
I don't think Skinner should have played all the games. I thought after the King series, they got the King series. They won. Okay, cool. Give him 1 or 2 starts in Vegas. See how it happened. He didn't show the presence in net for me to keep him in there.
No,
he wasn't invested enough. He was playing more deep in his crease. And he didn't have a lot of that spunk that you need to have that never-ending fight.
Confidence, swagger. Yeah, he got told like 4 times that they're gonna mess with your confidence, and the fact that he just kept throwing him back in there, like I think we're doing this guy more damage than helping at this point.
And if we had a guy,
not just your goalie coach, that's your head coach. That's his decision. And he came out directly and said that was his decision.
Yeah, well, it's both.
But he's getting a lot of information from his staff, though. You have to understand that.
Yeah.
He does listen to his staff a lot.
It's kind of like the President of the United States. If you got a guy that's the commander in chief that doesn't listen to anybody and goes on his own, okay. If you got a guy that's going to listen to his actual advisors and do what and take that in, at the end, yeah, he's got final say. But some people will rely on the people that are talking to him too.
Yeah, basically it's like Daryl Sutter and Jay Woodcroft.
Except for Daryl Sutter.
Daryl Sutter in the fist fight. I'll take Daryl Sutter in the fist fight. He traded his nephew, I think.
I'll take Daryl Sutter in a fist fight. Okay, so let's go down this road. Would you take Brian Burke or Kevin Lowe?
Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin.
I'll take Jay Woodcroft. I'll take Jay Wood.
We need to know that, everybody wants a right defenseman. Who the hell do we sign, trade for? Because I've got 3 guys I think that we could trade for or sign.
That brings you back to the Broberg talk, though. That's why Broberg has to be on the table, because he's the seller. He's the hot topic.
He's a trade chip, yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta say this. Let me say this for fuck's sakes. I'm taking Jay Woodcroft in a spelling bee. Goddammit.
We're
on a debate team.
But do any of you guys like either Orlov, Susi, or Mayfield?
Well, Orlov would be a good one, but I think he's gonna re-sign it. I think he did such a good job after the trade that I think that's something that I think he might stay put. What about a guy like Dumbuck?
I think Dumbuck's a good fit.
I think, who are you signing for? Your second pairing, your third pairing? What are we getting a guy for?
I think at that point, yeah, that's a good point, because I probably see Dumbuck more of a second pairing thing.
Or you drop down CC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's
And I think Matt Dumba's a perfect fit too, because he brings in a lot of grit and a lot of good hits, and kind of stabilizes a lot in the back end. Block shots. I mean, he's not a goal scorer over there. He's a grit and grimy. That's kind of like that veteran presence that you need. That ain't want nothing. That wants to win something. Just like Echo that you guys picked up.
And he's still in his prime. Like Dumba is like 28 or 29 right now, so he's still in that window as well.
Yeah, he's still young enough to compete for the next couple of years, and I think he could get him anywhere between 2 and 3.
He made 5.2 last year, so I think his cap hit is $6 million, so we'd have to make some space for him.
I don't think he's coming in at $6 million.
Mayfield's a 175. I'd love Mayfield for a third line for third pairing. That guy's a big bruiser.
Yeah, but that's for
Adam Larson back.
PC2.
The name that's been floating around is Pesce out of Carolina. I don't mind that idea either. I don't know about Matthew Dumba. I think injuries have gotten the best of him, and if you're going to go on a long run, I don't know if I would be entertaining him.
How do we make that cap?
There's people that have to go out the door. I think, Glenn Sather used to say you have to change, 5% of your team every year, and they weren't good enough last year, so they have to find a way to get better. Whether that means Yamamoto, whether that means Fogle, or both, or you're gonna have. I like the way that Warren Fogle showed up in the playoffs. I really liked his game, but you need a way to find some money to be able to make anything happen. And I think honestly, I'm okay with bringing in some youth to play on the wings. There is some bullets in the chamber, I think, there, but I don't think there's really any 911 help coming from the farm to automatically rectify the blue line. So I think you have to do that via trade or free agency.
Ryan McLeod has to be a priority as far as I'm concerned. That guy is just a stud.
Why the hell are we pissing around with Dylan Holloway and not doing something good with him?
Well, no, hang on. He'll be back next year. I know, but
we're wasting that kid's talent, I think. Like, he should be on the top six. No, I know, but even before that, like, he'd have a bad play in a game, and Jay would sit him or bench him, or he'd be down on the third or fourth line. I'm like, that kid has got way too much speed, way too much hockey IQ, and way too much sense to not be on that top six. Give him 10 games.
Well, he needs to have a top six role for sure to be successful. And maybe this year we also didn't really have the room in the top six right now for him.
He needs to play.
I don't see why this coming season that we don't audition him there and he would have to bring. Like you said, give him 10 games to let's see what he's got.
Yeah, no, he needs to play.
Yeah, he needs to play. I didn't like the fact that we played him on the fourth line at the weight of Holloway, and then he gets hurt in that position. And so I expect to bounce back, just like we expect to bounce back from Jack Campbell. I expect to bounce back from Holloway.
I think we're going through that same thing right now. Like I was talking to I was in the chat on another loyalty chat. They're trying to bring in all these other players, and I'm like, dude, we got so many young prospects or players that are like borderline cheating. You got to bring those guys up and stop trying to fill those positions with outside players and start allowing your players to grow within. And you can't wait till they're 24, 25, 26. Say, oh, he's ready to come back, come in. Because, you just abused him through the minors and on the bench or taxi squad that they were doing a few years ago in the ECHL during COVID. So I think you got to start allowing your younger players. Like, I think for me personally, like, Arneson, Iapolo, and one other player, Sean Jersey, I don't like those ones. That'll free up like $12 million to be kept. That's Romardi jump up on the third, drop play Michael down to the centerman. They're trying to keep him and put Michael as the left winger for the next 2 years, especially if they bring in CLD or whatever his name is. You're just ruining his talent on the wing. It's just centerman. Let him control a line with his other players that he has played with in the minors for the last 2 years. And he's got chemistry with Velarde. He has chemistry with Calliev and Capari. It's the same thing. So stop trying to fill everything out from outside. Sometimes you got to just let your players move in, and you got to allow some to leave as well.
Like, some of those guys you mentioned are restricted free agents right now. They got to focus on signing those guys for sure.
Yeah, well, Milwaukee's going to come back for sure. They've done too much into him for him not to, you know? And he had a little breakout season with 23 goals in 60-plus games. Showed up in the playoffs for a couple of games. And he did really well. But I think, you know, the cap, they keep saying the cap's going to go up, but it only went up $1 million this year. We literally need enough for like $5 million to be able to make these NHL teams be super competitive for everybody. Or just stop giving out bad contracts.
I'm a little worried and wondering if either of you guys are. We got 2 years left, right? And Draisaitl's up. He's not 18.5 anymore. He's going to what? Maybe 13, 12.5. And then the year after that, McDavid's going to what? 100 million a year, whatever the hell he wants. But like, I can't see us going to the cap limit every year because we still need to save money for those two guys. Or you just let one of them go. What is your opinion?
You build.
I don't see how you let the two best players in the world, either one of them go.
No.
I agree.
Well, I got a solution. So we have like several right-handed defensemen coming through the pipeline. For like the last couple of years. Hey, listen, we made a Gretzky trade one time. Come on, Connor, you got to do something. Hey, I love Leon Draisaitl. I think he is aggressive enough for me. He's got a little bit of that nasty chippiness, you know, semi dirty and occasionally type shit in him. So I'm like, man, I want that guy. That guy to me is all world. And I think the big question for me is who benefits more? Is it Connor or is it Leon?
Stop asking for miracles. You already had your miracle in Manchester once.
Yeah.
I was being facetious. I know that we're not going to get rid of either of them, but to go along with Angel with what you're saying, it's funny how people now, you know, don't value Leon because he plays with Connor all the time. Or, you know what, you never heard this shit when we had Gretzky and Curry. Did anybody ever say anything about Curry when he played with Gretzky and still scored 68, 70 goals? Nobody ever said that, right? So now all of a sudden, because of the world we live in and social media and all this shit, Draisaitl's not as important because he plays with David all the time. Like,
I don't know if I agree with that. In my when I compare the two of them, it's Gretzky and Messier more than Gretzky and Curry.
Curry played more with Gretzky than Messier.
Yeah, I know, I understand, but I'm just saying, like, Draisaitl's play style is more like Messier, Gretzky.
Oh,
David.
absolutely.
I'll never discount Draisaitl.
Well, I think the comparison between, like, if you're going to compare Curry and Gretzky, the difference is Curry was always on a team where he played with somebody who was greater than him, like a superstar with Gretzky or Messier. Messier went on to, with the Rangers, and created his own legacy there, and Gretzky went on, obviously, to use his greatest ever. So I don't think Curry had the opportunity to lead a team on his own to be the greatest player on that team.
I don't think he wanted that. I think he liked the whole thing. You know, the comparison I like to see more between like with the Draisaitl McDavid situation. Why can't it be like a Crosby Malkin situation? Why can't they just keep building these teams around them and start achieving the success like that?
But it is, because you remember when Malkin was on fire and Crosby was hurt. Everybody was saying Crosby was better, or Malkin was better than Crosby. And then when they played together, everybody was curious, and they were watching those games like, hey, is Malkin actually better than Crosby? And so it's very similar to that dynamic, except I don't know how Pittsburgh was able to compete with the salary that they had at the time. I didn't pay attention to them as much as I do with the Oilers, only because the Oilers and the Kings have this rivalry going back a couple years. And then they have more history as far as players.
Malkin's, you know, you bringing up that name, that's a good comparable to use for Draisaitl. And, you know, if Leon starts getting the real hardware that we all want him and Connor both to get, I think at the end of his career, I think he's going to be a better player than Evgeny Malkin. And that's saying a lot, because I've got a high regard for Evgeny Malkin. I think he's a hell of a hockey player.
Oh, he's amazing, man. Some of the things he did was just amazing.
So, Mike, what do you think Draisaitl's next contract looks like?
Yeah, I think Low Tide was pushing sort of the doomsday scenarios and was actually talking about him going to LA after Doughty's contract is up and kind of all that kind of, or not Doughty, Kopitar, and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I don't think anywhere else in the NHL would be able to take on both Leon and Connor. And they're such good friends, and they're such good friends that I think that's, the success has to come for them. I think, but I think it will, and I don't see him, jet setting off to somewhere else. I think he wants to be here, and I think Connor does too. They've got a lot of these guys signed long term, like Nuge and Hyman and Nurse, and so there's a core here that's going to be here. I think this year coming up is the year that they need to do it, and the part I think that scares me a little bit is I think Colorado is probably going to find a way to have a resurgence. I think they were kind of in a fucking coma last year, and they went through a lot of injuries to a lot of key players, and Landeskog is going to be out all season next year, so they're going to have room to bring in another impactful player, and I'm pretty sure they will. So I don't think the West is going to be easy. Vegas is going to do what Vegas does. They've been a competitive team since they joined the league, whether we like it or not, and think that they've been gifted kind of that success. I think they took advantage of the new system better than Seattle did. But Seattle, this season they were a tough team to play against. A very kind of lunch pail kind of organization. But in answer to your question, what is Draisaitl's next contract going to be? I think he's an $8 million player right now. I think we can expect a $4 million a season kind of raise. So I think his next contract will be what Connor's is at now, and then when Connor's comes up, I think he'll be deserving and worthy of a raise, and hopefully the cap kind of goes up with it, to accommodate that. But if not, you've got to make other changes to make sure those guys get paid. Yeah, you build your team around those guys.
Isn't it like this salary cap wise that you can only pay one player 20% of what the total cap is? Is that not correct?
I think right
now
now.
Connor's at 15%. Right now, Connor's at 15%. So if Leon gets that same thing, that's 30% between those two guys.
Right. So is that the trouble now that Nurse is getting 9.5 as well? So we're going to wrap up like $35 million between three guys.
Yeah, you can get creative though. Make it a lot more long term, like they did with Kovalchuk. You just sign him up for 40 years and he gets his money.
I don't think they can do that anymore.
The Rick DiPietro deals, I think, are gone by the wayside. But who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? It's not our money. Just pay them.
Well, the other thing is say they don't win in the next 2 years. Does he want to resign there? Friendships or not, it's a business and you're still growing a legacy, right? So let's say you don't or you do. Or what if you do? Does he take a hometown discount if you guys go back to back, stuff like that? Does they keep the band together?
Let's
or
not.
If you don't win.
Let's not say that.
Or the other question is, it's like if you do win, does his price go up?
It's going up. It's going up regardless.
You're talking about record-setting players. These aren't regular players that you can technically predict, right? So you look at these players and you say, okay, well, if he's top 5 player in the league, who doesn't want one of those players? And who can afford to bring those players in, right? So, you guys might be able to offer 12, but Kopitar's contract just got down, and they can offer 14 for the next 8.
So
on a competitive team.
So I love you both for coming on, and this was a fun one, but an hour flies by really quick. So Rob, if you have any closing things you want to say, you go for it, and then Angel, and then I'll shut us down and get to the closeout video. Thanks both of you guys for coming on.
Thanks for having me a lot, fellas. I appreciate it. I've been an Oiler fan forever. I will stay an Oiler fan no matter what the hell happens. Sorry that I took a lot of that goddamn time up when it happened, but I'm a passionate man. I love the team, and I would love to be on again sometime. And ultimately, I hope Chad lets me know one day if he thinks how we can correct our goaltending, and maybe we can turn him into a pro Dustin Schwartz fan.
Fuck Dustin Schwartz.
Boys, as always, it's always a pleasure. Let's talk hockey, whether we're on the same side or not. Doesn't really matter. It's all talk at the end of the day. It's all fun. It's always good fun. And, it's always good to show the fan base too that, we've got to be at each other's throats. It's always good to kind of show some support to everybody. Even with my team not in, I like Leon Drexler, I like Connor McDavid, and Mark Stone, and Jonathan Quick, who's on the biggest side. So, it's always a pleasure. Thanks to be back. It's always fun. You guys have a laugh.
Keep your sticks on the ice. You guys keep your sticks on the ice and keep reaching for the stars, and go Oilers, go. Good night, Kings fans. All one of you that were watching.